This should be a great conversation. I said this early this morning. I'll say it again. In studio with us now is the Arizona Attorney General Kris Mayes. Welcome.
Thank you, Mike. It's good to be here.
I appreciate this. Your office reached out. They had heard some of the comments I made about the lawsuits, and your people reached out and said, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
I love the fact that we can talk about this.
Yeah, well, I never want you to be mad at me, Mike.
I'm never mad at you. I just question, and I have, honestly, 13 lawsuits in 3 months is a lot of lawsuits. Are they all justified? Is this personal? It seems like you're overdoing it to me. Like 13 lawsuits that the state needs to be involved in. I'm not going to ask you to justify every single one of them, but give me the mindset.
Well, the mindset is, I'll stop suing Donald Trump when he stops violating the Constitution and engaging in unlawful activity. And yeah, I mean, did I run to sue Donald Trump? Absolutely not. This was not on my bucket list, but I did take an oath of office to uphold the Constitution and the rule of law. And that's what this is about. And Mike, I would say this, if this was a Democratic president who, was constantly violating the separation of powers, what would you want me to do? You would be screaming at me or yelling at me.
I'll be honest, I wouldn't.
Okay.
Okay, and here's what I mean.
On all of these things, you think any president should be allowed to do these things?
I think that if there are lawsuits that are out there that are already going to be adjudicated and are going to be heard by the courts, that I don't know that it's in the best interest of Arizona to have our Attorney General doing that. Because when you ran, and this is a fair statement, when you ran, you and I talked about that abortion law that we defaulted to. Mm-hmm. And you said, I've got bigger things to do with fentanyl and other things here in the state of Arizona. I'm not wasting my time on that law. And you're laser focused on the important things. This, to me, seems like a distraction.
So, first of all, only a few of these things have other parties litigating them. So
that's fair.
Most of these things are things that only states can do. And where I felt the need to, again, uphold the rule of law and the Constitution and protect our state. So take the federal funding freeze one.
Okay.
This is one where Donald Trump, with an executive order, again, violating the separation of powers and Congress's power, said, we're going to defund Head Start. We're going to defund Meals on Wheels. We're going to defund HIDA, which, Mike, as you know, is the high-impact drug trafficking areas. This is our partnership with the FBI, the DEA, the Joint Terrorism Task Force.
I have friends that work with HIDA.
Right. And they defunded it, Mike. They defunded it, and that is not acceptable. And so in order to protect my ability to continue to fight the Mexican drug cartels, I filed that lawsuit.
But isn't there a difference between saying he is absolutely 100% wrong and he's violated the law? There's a difference.
I mean, I not really, because, I mean, what am I supposed to do? Do you want me to just lay back and let him violate the law and just come on your radio show and say, that's bad?
Yeah, well, that's
bad, and we need to stop it.
But Senator Gallego came in here, and I'm not pitting you against him, but when Senator Gallego was in here, he absolutely disagreed with tariffs and the way they're being handled, and a lot of other things that the president is doing, and he thinks he's doing them the wrong way. Mm-hmm. But he never accused him of breaking the law. And that's where I just think that there's a lot of rhetoric about constitutional crisis that I disagree with. I agree with, I don't expect anybody to like him. There are things that the president does, that I've been very critical of.
Yeah.
But I don't know, and I'm not a lawyer, so I'm at a disadvantage here in an argument with you, but I don't know that there's 13 occasions where he's violated the law that Arizona should be involved in a federal lawsuit.
Well, I would just tell you, as the lawyer in the room, that he has, and these are all right. These are violent. And Ruben's not a lawyer, and it's not Ruben's job. So it's also not Ruben's job to uphold the rule of law and to represent the state of Arizona and the interests of the state of Arizona. And look, you take the tariffs lawsuit. My God, Mike. I mean, talk about something that is going to devastate our state, and again, is totally unlawful. He used IEPA, which doesn't even mention tariffs, to set a 145% tariff on China and Mexico and Canada.
But presidents have been using tariffs as a negotiating tool for a very long time.
Yes, but they have used the proper statutes that Congress passed to do so. And there's a reason that Trump didn't use the proper statutes. You know what it is? It's because they have parameters around them and time limits. So he bypassed all of that to use IEPA, which have no time limits and don't even mention tariffs in the language of the statute.
So what is the outcome? Let's say you're successful. What are you going to gain because he's going to go another way and do it? Is it the mechanism? Is it the manner in which he's doing it?
Well, so no, I mean, it's what he's doing. It's the substance of it. And the outcome is this. In almost all of those cases that you have in front of you that we've filed, we've won a TRO, a temporary restraining order. And that is really hard to do. And that is a federal judge. In about a third of these cases, by the way, Republican-appointed judges saying, no way, stop. The states, Arizona and the other states, are likely to win on the merits, and Donald Trump, you have to stop what you're doing. So we had a Reagan-appointed judge, a 92-year-old Reagan-appointed judge, say that the president's birthright citizenship order was flatly unconstitutional.
But isn't the point of these the appeals process in the court system to get it to the Supreme Court to get a final decision on birthright citizenship?
And it is. And
right.
Yeah. And that's where they actually took up the case, and we're going to have oral arguments on that really soon. So it's going to be really interesting. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be up to the Supreme Court. One of the reasons we're bringing these cases, Mike, to say, okay, do we believe in the separation of powers anymore or not?
And I agree with you. Going back to the Obama administration, I was critical of what seemed to be the expansion of the executive branch. And there were challenges, and he won some and he lost some.
Yeah.
The same thing with President Biden to a certain extent with student loans, and there was pushback with those. So it's not the issue of asking the question in the sense of we want to get this in front of a judge and get answers. I just see 13 of them seems to be a stretch. Like I'm not accusing you of it being personal. It looks personal.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not personal. And again, if I did, I would rather not have to be doing this. But I think you would agree with me that we have never seen a president try to expand executive power in the way this president has done. I mean, there's a reason, Mike, that in the tariffs lawsuit, the other two entities that are suing are one is backed by the Koch brothers. Never in my life did I think I would end up in a lawsuit on the side of the Koch brothers. But that tells you all you need to know about some of these cases where, you have Republicans who are joining with Democrats.
So the two questions, because the validity of this is one aspect of it, but the necessity of Arizona being involved is the other part of it. And so without going into every one of them one by one is, why is Arizona compelled to be a part of it? If it was going to be handled without Arizona's involvement, why does Arizona need to be involved?
So because I want to be a part of, and we want to be a part of solving these problems, and our state is being impacted. So I'll take the two DOGE lawsuits that I filed. Mike, when Elon Musk started rampaging through the federal government and hoovering up everybody's private data, we filed that lawsuit. Why? Because Arizonans, we were getting hundreds and hundreds of phone calls, by the way, from just as many Republicans as Democrats, saying, what in the heck is Elon Musk doing hoovering up my private data? And so we filed that lawsuit say no, and we won a TRO, Mike.
But this is the part of it that doesn't make sense to me, and this is where you can clarify, and I will agree with you if you can convince me.
Okay.
There's not an aspect of your life where you're not giving your personal information to someone that's not been vetted. If I apply for a credit card, I have to give my Social Security. I had an identity theft thing happen to me. This is the dumbest thing that's ever happened to me. And so I was trying to fight this false account that was opened in my name.
Yeah.
They wanted proof that I was me before they would divulge information. And I had to give them all this information over the phone. I failed the test over the phone to prove that I was me. So somebody else pretended to be me and opened an account.
Yeah.
But I couldn't prove I was me. My point is...
But I think you're making my point.
How so?
Because I think Americans are increasingly concerned about their private information being taken without their permission. But
we give it every day.
But who is Elon Musk to hoover up all this data and Doge and these people who, by the way, were never Senate confirmed. That's a violation of the appointments clause, we allege also. And who knows what he's doing with that data? And that's why so many people are outraged about Doge and Musk.
But the assumption that because he's associated with Donald Trump that he's up to something nefarious, I think, is a wrong assumption.
Maybe. Well, a lot of people disagree with you.
Right.
I mean, like hundreds, if not thousands of people who were calling my office saying, Kris Mayes, what are you going to do about this?
But that doesn't make it illegal.
It does, actually. That's what we're alleging. We'll see. We'll see whether a court agrees with us. A federal court already agreed with us that it is not proper, at least with regard to the Treasury Department. And then, Mike, the other thing, and we haven't filed this lawsuit yet, but we're very concerned about what's happening with Social Security. We now have 400 or 500 people who have called our office to tell us that they haven't gotten their Social Security checks, or they can't get a hold of Social Security to, for instance, to change their direct deposit information. So what's going on with that?
So that was going to be my next question. We got to take a break. Can you stay one more segment?
Sure. Yeah.
Because the next question is going to be, is 13 the number? Or is it going up? So we're gonna have one more segment with the Attorney General. We'll be back here in just a moment. All right, we have got a few minutes more with the Attorney General Kris Mayes, and so the breaking news: is 13 the number? Is 13 lawsuits the number, or are there going to be more?
There will be more. We've got one coming today, and likely today, and and that's because, Mike, again, if there's a violation of the Constitution or the rule of law, I took an oath to protect that, and we'll continue to do it. But we're also going to continue to do the work of the office, and we are. I mean, one of the things that I am trying to work with the Trump administration on is increasing the number of DEA agents in Arizona. I recently had a conversation with the acting director of the DEA where I asked him to send us 50 more DEA agents to fight the fentanyl crisis. And we also are about to sign into law, or we actually, the governor just did sign a bill that our office wrote, to allow local law enforcement to shoot down drones that are being controlled by the Mexican drug cartels.
So let me meld a couple of, I mentioned to you off the air that I spoke with the head of the Arizona State Troopers Association yesterday.
Yeah.
This is what scares me about what's going on and it's not going to be fixed overnight. We know that 13 of our 15 counties do not have 24-hour service from DPS.
It's crazy.
So if we know it, the cartels you're talking about fighting know it.
Yeah.
And so they know the hours of the day when they are the safest on the streets with human and drug trafficking.
That is true. And it's outrageous in the legislature. Shame on the legislature for not solving this problem. And I promise you that I will be advocating for DPS, and I'm going to go talk to DPS about this. Yes, the drug cartels and I-40 and I-10 are two of the main routes that they use to traffic fentanyl. We know that. And DPS has made huge seizures in the past. They're a huge part of our effort to fight the Mexican drug cartels.
So I want to ask you, as long as we're talking about the DEA in this, we just received this and I handed it to you. You're being sued by the hemp industry.
Yes.
Can you tell us what this is about and what is their opinion on this, and what is your response?
So I recently announced that and put out some guidance that we are going to enforce the law of Arizona, which is that if you're going to sell cannabis-infused products, you have to be a licensed marijuana dispensary, essentially. That's the law. That's the law that Arizonans passed. And we are seeing a situation in which we have all these smoke shops that are selling cannabis-infused gummies, often packaged and marketed to kids. I don't know if you've seen some of the packaging.
Seen it.
It's insane. I'm a mom. I know a lot of parents out there who don't want their kids to have access to marijuana in the form of gummies. And then we have, companies like Total Wine that are selling cannabis-infused drinks. Now, they're age gating, Total Wine is.
They are. And so my question about this, because I've had people reach out to me about it, is, and I have no opinion on marijuana. I've never used it, but I don't care.
Neither have I.
And I don't care,
So
to be
you're
honest.
kind of libertarian about it.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
But if we passed a law and people spend a great deal of money to be a licensed cannabis dealer.
Yes.
Should we allow people with liquor license to sell cannabis-infused items, or is that taking the business away from a business standpoint? Is it taking the business away from the licensed cannabis dealers?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it probably is, and the problem, but the larger issue, it's illegal, and the Arizonans passed a measure that narrowly limited who could sell recreational marijuana and where. And they didn't say, oh, let's have every smoke shop in the state of Arizona, especially many of which are locating themselves around high schools, set up shop and then market these sort of, gummies in colorful packages to kids.
So what is their lawsuit against you about? To stop this enforcement?
Yeah, they wanted a judge to stop the enforcement. A judge did not, and so we're moving forward with enforcement. I gave them 30 days to come into compliance to take it off the shelves. That 30 days is up. We are going to go forward with enforcement. Their view is that the farm bill, a recent farm bill, actually made it legal. I just disagree. We'll see. A court is going to decide. A court has actually already decided that we can enforce the Arizona law, that's what I intend to do. As do several sheriff's departments. Sheriff Rhodes up in Yavapai County totally agrees with me on this, and I think the Maricopa County attorney does as well.
When it comes to enforcement, what is the enforcement? So if you've told a shop, get it off your shelf within 30 days and they don't, confiscate the product, but what happens to the shop owner?
So, there could be very stiff penalties. There are stiff fines for this, and then potentially criminal charges against the company, the business. I don't envision us.
When you say the business, the manufacturer or the retailer?
The retailer.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's best not to sell this stuff.
Are there going to be repercussions against the manufacturers?
That's a great question. Probably not if they're not located in Arizona. But right now we're focused on enforcing in Arizona.
And so how quickly will something like this move along? Because obviously you have a 30-day window before enforcement starting. That's running out or has run out.
Yeah.
So how quickly do they have to get this in front of a judge?
Well, they already did. They got it in front of a Superior Court judge, and then I think they're appealing it. I think that eventually this will end up probably in front of the Arizona Supreme Court, and the Arizona Supreme Court will have to decide whether they're right that the Farm Bill overrides Arizona law, or I'm right that you can't sell this stuff.
All right, so back to you say that there's looks like there's going to be another lawsuit. What's next? What is this? What is happening and why?
Well, I'm not going to announce it today or now because I can't get ahead of the other states. And as you know, a lot of these lawsuits are being done in conjunction with other states. So we're not the only ones doing this. There are 23 AGs out there who've been filing these lawsuits. But, this is another one where we're talking about, basically a violation of separation of powers. The Trump administration is basically trying to is in a demolition derby on the federal government. And Mike, that's not their purview. Look, Donald Trump has every right to attempt to do what he's trying to do, which is basically destroy the federal government. But he would have to go through Congress first. Congress created these agencies that he is trying to unilaterally destroy, and he would have to go back to Congress. Well, is he going to do that? No, probably not, because he knows he wouldn't succeed. Let me ask you this: what if they destroy or try to destroy the DEA? Would you agree with that?
No, I wouldn't.
I mean, neither would I.
I would think that would be, if you're going to destroy an agency that's interdicting drugs, and I've watched the changing of that agency since the 80s when I was a kid, I think that would be detrimental to the United States.
Okay.
But I don't...
How about the Department of Interior and our national parks?
Well, I have
Doge is inside there.
See, I have a difference of opinion. I just think a lot of that land should be returned to the states. I think we should have control in the western United States of a lot more of our land.
Okay.
That's my personal opinion. I don't like the declaration of some of these national monuments and why they're doing it, so...
But you get my point, which is it's not the job of the president to decide these things.
So, and I understand going to the court on things. Again, 13 seems excessive to me. Now it looks like at least 14.
It'll be 14.
Okay, it'll be 14. Write that down. But it seems excessive. But what happens? The last question is, what happens if you, not you personally, but if the states that are doing this begin to lose some of these, then what do? Do you rethink the lawsuits?
If we really start losing all of them, but look, we haven't. We've been winning. I mean, we're on a winning streak
here.
But
a temporary...
TRO is pretty strong. I mean, it basically says that more likely than not, the states are going to win on the merits. Now, are we going to win all of these? Absolutely not. We're not. When during Trump 1.0, the states sued Trump, I think, more than 100 times, and they won 80% of the time.
Okay.
This is about, upholding the Constitution and the rule of law. And if the president were to follow the rule of law, I don't think any of us would be suing. And like I said, in the meantime, we continue to do the core mission of the Attorney General's office, and we will do that.
So you think you are maintaining the distinction between what I don't like and what's illegal?
Say more. What do you mean by that?
I mean, this isn't about I just don't like it. This is about you believe it crosses the line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, and look at the tariffs. I mean, look at the tariff lawsuit. We know that the business community. I was on CNBC yesterday.
We saw you.
Yeah, I mean, talking about this issue, and the business community is beside itself over these tariffs.
But not all of it.
A lot of them. A lot of them.
The automobile industry loves it.
What kind of do they?
The auto workers think it's the best thing that's happened to auto workers in a long time.
But I would say the vast majority of the rest of the business community does not. And our small businesses are going to get hammered by this. They're already getting hammered. We know we had the owner of Copper State Coffee tell us that he's already paying enormous amounts of money for tea from India. The CEO of Freeport McMoran said, Kathleen Quirk said, this is bad for business. These things are bad. So, we're doing this because it's the right thing for the state of Arizona.
All right, I could do this all day, but I appreciate you coming and having this conversation. It really is.
Me too.
It's fascinating to me, and your willingness to do it is really, I appreciate it. You don't owe me any conversation, but to have it really means a lot.
I love it. Let's do it again.
All right, the Attorney General Kris Mayes.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Catch up on Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast, and click the button in the middle to subscribe.